Welcome back to today's Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we are unpacking one of the absolute most critical structural shifts happening in business right now. We're talking about the 2026 revenue revolution and specifically how SaaS monetization is completely transforming. Look, if you are building, scaling, or managing software revenue, you have probably felt the friction of outdated billing systems just dragging down your momentum. So today, we're going to break down exactly what's causing that friction and how the fastest-growing companies out there are overcoming what we call the growth ceiling by completely re-architecting their revenue operations.
All right, here's our quick roadmap for today. 1. The 2026 revenue revolution. 2. Hitting the growth ceiling. 3. The hybrid pricing shift. 4. Aligning with value metrics. And 5. Automating the revenue engine. Let's get right into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the 2026 revenue revolution and the hidden drain it's causing.
I want to anchor our entire discussion today on a single, absolutely staggering number, 5 to 15%. Across the SaaS industry right now, founders and finance teams are losing an astounding 5 to 15% of their top-line revenue. And it's all going to failed payments, botched prorations, tax errors, and manual processes that simply do not scale. Imagine you've got a business generating $10 million in annual recurring revenue. They are essentially lighting up to $1.5 million on fire just because their revenue collection process is wildly inefficient. Think about it. Failed payments alone are literally the largest source of involuntary churn. This isn't just some administrative annoyance anymore. It's a critical, immediate threat to the financial health of the business.
That brings us right into Section 2, hitting the growth ceiling.
There's this really stark contrast between healthy scaling and hitting the growth ceiling. When you have automated revenue collection, you can add 50 customers and your predictable cash flow just hums along perfectly. No problem. But when you hit that ceiling, multiplying your customers actually ends up multiplying your problems. If your team is stuck manually calculating mid-cycle upgrades or hand-keying adjustments into an ERP, you simply cannot scale. You add those exact same 50 customers and suddenly your finance team is drowning in recurring invoice errors and compounding technical debt. Your billing operations mutate from a standard, quiet back-office utility into this massive, incredibly costly bottleneck that actually restricts you from signing new deals.
Let's actually detail these invisible drains for a second because they're active, aggressive threats to your team's bandwidth. Think about manual spreadsheet recalculations for a mid-month downgrade. Just one wrong formula and boom, your revenue reporting is totally broken. Or what about unapplied promotional discounts or weak dunning logic for failed payments, where a system just blindly retries a credit card every 24 hours hoping for some kind of miracle? Then you've got unbilled usage overages, where customers are consuming resources that you simply forget to invoice them for. And perhaps the most dangerous one of all, incorrect ASC 606 revenue recognition. Listen, if you're tracking your deferred revenue in spreadsheets, you are walking into an absolute auditor's nightmare. These manual tasks will eventually choke your finance and RevOps teams completely.
Okay, Section 3, the hybrid pricing shift.
I want to ask you a slightly provocative question right now. Really look at your own business. Is your pricing model obsolete? Because the data is telling us that those traditional per-seat or flat-fee subscriptions, the ones you probably launched with a few years ago, they are rapidly losing their effectiveness in today's market.
Let's break this down a bit. Historically, we loved flat fee and per-seat models, right? They gave us high revenue predictability. You knew exactly what that invoice would say every single month. But look at the barriers to entry here and the failure to capture true value. I mean, if an AI agent does the work of 10 people, charging per seat is just a race to the bottom. Meanwhile, usage-based pricing completely removes that barrier to entry and aligns your revenue directly with how much a customer actually relies on your product. The trade-off, historically at least, has been that usage models require really high integration complexity for your engineering team.
So here's the crucial point. We aren't abandoning subscriptions entirely. We are evolving them. Hybrid pricing is the 2026 market default. The most successful vendors out there are now layering consumption charges right on top of base subscriptions. What this does is optimize the business for account expansion without forcing your sales team to constantly sit down and renegotiate renewals. As customers consume more, the revenue scales naturally right along with them.
Moving right along to Section 4, aligning with value metrics.
The real solution here lies in the value metric. What is that? It's the specific unit of consumption that scales perfectly with the value your customer actually receives. So, if you're a developer tool, that metric might be API calls made. If you're an AI automation platform, maybe it's documents processed. For a CRM, it's active contacts.
You are charging customers based on their actual, measurable success with your product, rather than just some arbitrary employee headcount. And the financial impact of making this shift is staggering. Data from OpenView reveals that companies aligning their pricing with specific value metrics grow 30% faster than those relying on static flat rates. 30%. That is a massive competitive advantage. When your pricing is actually aligned with customer success, there's basically no friction when the bill goes up because the value they received went up first.
So how do you actually implement this? Well, here's the 2026 hybrid pricing standard broken down into 3 elegant steps. Step 1 is the platform fee. That's your predictable base flat rate to access the software and cover basic hosting. Step 2 is the user fee, a smaller charge for collaboration seats. And step 3, this is where the magic happens, usage overages. This captures the volumetric consumption we just talked about, like those API calls or active contacts. This structure lets you capture value from all angles, all while maintaining a really predictable floor for your cash flow.
And that takes us to our final piece, Section 5, Automating the Revenue Engine. To actually pull this off, you need an infrastructure that acts as a true automated engine. You need real-time usage data mediation that can seamlessly ingest millions of digital events and turn them into an accurate invoice. You need automated proration, so mid-cycle upgrades are calculated instantly and flawlessly. You need smart dunning that gracefully recovers those failed payments to stop involuntary churn in its tracks. You absolutely must have native ASC 606 compliance built right in. And crucially, this is huge, you need to decouple your pricing logic from your core code. Your marketing team should be able to launch a new tier or a new value metric without requiring a 2-week engineering sprint to get it done.
I really want to leave you with this powerful quote from Synthesis Systems. Billing systems have quietly moved from back-office utilities to core infrastructure for revenue, trust, and scale. That is the boardroom reality of 2026. Billing is no longer just some chore your finance team hates doing at the end of the month. It's a strategic growth lever. It dictates your agility, your compliance, and ultimately, your ceiling.
So let's leave it on this final critical thought today. Think about the workflows happening in your business literally right now. Is your billing system an engine for growth, pushing you past the competition? Or is it a weight on your progress, quietly draining 5 to 15% of your revenue while totally exhausting your team? If it's the latter, it's time to audit your revenue cycle immediately and embrace the hybrid revolution. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Now go take a really hard look at those value metrics.